Hey everyone, Brent here from NeuroTrader, and I'm here today with an incredible person who can help set you up and get paid in digital assets like Bitcoin, and not only that, but do it safely. So today, I'd love to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Dee Wakefield, who's helped me out and helped shine a light on some areas of security and some concern for me, especially when it comes to getting paid and computer security in general. So Dee, she's a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really excited to be putting this together because when I actually met Dee for the first time, that's the day that the penny actually dropped for me in why this space is so important. My background has typically been working with traders in the Forex space, so I thought I had an understanding of world currency markets and stuff like that. But then, I was humbled in a way, especially with what's happening globally and around the world in the crypto space. So I'm really honored and super excited that I've got Dee here, and she's going to share some wisdom with us and just show you all the reasons why, if you're not getting paid in digital assets like Bitcoin, it might be a really, really good idea to start doing that. So everyone, this is my good friend Dee. Dee, just introduce yourself.
Yes, so my name is Dee Wakefield. I'm a digital currency specialist. I specialize in getting people safely involved in cryptocurrency. It's a fairly new asset class, even though it's not really new. We are not even early adopters. Now we are going more into the phase that mass adoption will be further down the track. And so why would people even want to look at that? And I think the biggest sign on the horizon to get involved now is the CBDCs. And CBDCs are central bank digital currencies. So central banks all around the world are working on their own digital currency. Now, a lot of people have heard about Bitcoin, obviously. And Bitcoin is a decentralized cryptocurrency. So what's the difference? Well, it's quite simply with a CBDC, the governments will have, and the central banks obviously, will have 100% control and 100% transparency of your coin, of whatever you do with it. Now, with a decentralized cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, you can keep your privacy, some of your privacy. And in the coming years, this will be probably a topic that will be very important for people. So this is certainly one of the reasons to look at Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general at this point in time.
Cool. Oh man, I learned so much the other day when you guys actually spoke. So just for the people that may have heard of Bitcoin, and like I used to, it was only a couple of months ago when people talk to me about Bitcoin, I just thought it was just like gaming tokens, and I was super naive about it. But for the people like me a couple of months ago, just explain what Bitcoin is and why it's so important.
So Bitcoin, the interesting thing on when Bitcoin came about was during the GFC. So the white paper by name called Satoshi Nakamoto, no one knows who it is, and until now it's not fully clear who built the Bitcoin code. But it is assumed it could have been a group of software developers and coders. But that white paper was issued on the 31st of October 2008, and interestingly, the fundamentals of Bitcoin is a technology called blockchain technology. Now, I don't want to go into what blockchain technology is, but it was actually quite revolutionary to some extent because what it does, it allows peer-to-peer transactions, trusted peer-to-peer transactions. Now, for example, if you want to send money from Australia to your friend in, let's say, the UK, now usually you would do that through a bank. So you've got a third party in between. You pay them a lot of money to do that. Now, with a decentralized currency like Bitcoin, for one, you can do that pretty much instant. So it might take maybe 15 minutes, maybe a bit longer, depending on how quick the network is. But it won't cost you anything because you don't have that third party in between. And because of the way the blockchain technology allows this type of trusted transaction between two parties. So you take the middleman out. And that is obviously well, it gives power back to the people.
How is Bitcoin different? Because like we hear of all these other coins like Ethereum and Ripple, and there's just so much noise in this space. But how is it different to other cryptocurrencies?
Now, Bitcoin, so for one, it was the first cryptocurrency really, but it is a cryptocurrency in its truest sense in that way that it can be used as a form of payment. And so, you know, to be fair with Bitcoin, because it's the first one, it's a fairly, the transactions are slower than on other cryptocurrencies, like Litecoin is one of them. Litecoin was established to be a fast alternative to Bitcoin. But obviously, one thing that Bitcoin now has is, because it is the first cryptocurrency, it's also used as a storage of value. So it's also called Gold 2.0. And a lot of the times you see in the markets when Bitcoin moves and the other cryptocurrencies follow. But going back to your original question, then you have, for example, Ethereum, which is not a cryptocurrency as such. Sometimes it's been called a cryptocurrency, but it's not. It's actually a token that's been used on the Ethereum platform. So there are different crypto assets. So cryptocurrencies are one of them, but then you've got also tokens, which means they have a particular application on a particular platform.
So what are CBDCs and how are they different again?
So CBDCs, let's dig into that topic a bit more. So CBDC stands for Central Bank Digital Currency. And essentially we are talking about a digital US dollar, a digital Australian dollar. And not just that, the wallet or the account you will have will be directly with the central banks. That's why they are called the central bank digital currencies. Now with central bank digital currencies, you have the issue that there's 100% control and 100% transparency to whatever you pay with these coins for. And that is something that might not concern you, but I think for a lot of people that is quite concerning because it gives a lot of that control away. And so the central banks all around the world have been working for a few years now on CBDCs. Now in South Korea, they have already started their pilot project with the general population. Same in China, in some provinces, and there is obviously also projects afoot for CBDCs all around the world. And as said, the big issue with that is privacy concerns, and and just looking over into China with 5G, they have been using facial recognition software. And through that, they are able to, when a person does some jaywalking somewhere, that they can directly debit the fine from your account. And they are able to do that. You know, in China, they have a system called social credits that comes with certain requirements. You only get to pay when you fulfill these requirements. That's it in a nutshell. And that is quite a concerning step towards less privacy and less control over your own life and your finances. That's something when we do certain steps now, we can at least keep some control and privacy, and that is really where Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, decentralized cryptocurrency, comes in.
And it's kind of like the feeling that because there's only X amount of Bitcoin that will ever be made, there's 5 years from now, it feels like there's going to be the people that have Bitcoin and the people that don't.
Yes, that's what's happening at the moment. When I bought some additional Bitcoin with my pension fund this March. It was at 9,000, and now it's at, we're talking about November, the same year, we are talking about 22,000 at the moment. And some people ask, why is Bitcoin so expensive? And well, yes, it is expensive, but not really, depending on the outlook of Bitcoin. Generally speaking, and that's another thing that people have to be aware, they think if they buy cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, they have to buy an entire Bitcoin, which is at the moment 22,000. But some people might just wanna buy Bitcoin worth $1,000, and you can do that because Bitcoin is divisible to 8 decimal places. So you can still go and fill up your petrol tank and buying your petrol with Bitcoin. So that's still possible. And it looks like Bitcoin will rise more and more, coming with more institutional money coming in, as well as retailers cottoning on to what's happening in the financial industry, and more people will be coming in and wanting to get paid in Bitcoin, because that is really a store of value as well.
How long does it take to set someone up safely to start getting paid in Bitcoin?
To get paid in Bitcoin, that's really, really quick. Because we're looking at the simplest steps is really using a very secure and safe exchange. And then you will have to go through what's called KYC process, know your customer, which if you are in Australia and you have a driver's license or a passport, that actually happens within 5 minutes. And then you've got your wallet there. You can copy and paste the QR code or the wallet address to your website or wherever you want to take cryptocurrency, and away you go. So that goes very, very fast, being able to get paid in Bitcoin pretty much immediately, really.
What are the reasons why you think it's a good investment?
Yes, I'm not a financial advisor. I educate people about getting safely involved in cryptocurrencies. I want to do a quick detour, though, talking about financial advice on cryptocurrency, because I think it's quite important to understand that. Not long ago, I spoke with a financial advisor who had an unrestricted financial services license. And the interesting thing he told me, so he owns Bitcoin himself. And he really likes it and really understands where it's going. But he said he's unable to recommend it because of liability and insurance issues. Because what's happening at the moment is that the institutional money and the retailers are actually ahead of the regulations, even though the regulations are coming in, which is good because it does make it safer for everyone. It also means that financial advising actually lags behind that asset class, and at this stage for them it's just speculation, or they are not really able to advise on that. So that's in a way a pity. But just going back to speaking from my own experience, is that we are living in a time where I think we can't longer abdicate our responsibility to care for our finances, and cryptocurrency is coming whether you like it or not. So the question is, do you want to be a victim to something that's being brought in and put upon you, or do you want to take charge and want to really make the best out of this change and shift in the economy? And so to me, it was certainly a good investment. As I said, my pension fund, I put 50% of what I had, I put into cryptocurrency. And yes, and it's almost doubled now. So, and I expect it to keep on going because more people will cotton on to what's happening. More large-scale companies will come in, grayscale investments. They are buying Bitcoin. I think altogether they have bought up to about 3% of the market cap of Bitcoin for their investors. That's huge. We're talking about close to 1 billion there. So there's a lot of institutional money coming in, as well as private investors and retail. And that obviously will drive the price up in cryptocurrency. And I want to mention here that cryptocurrency has a finite number. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin has a finite number of Bitcoins ever mined, which is 21 million. And this finite supply obviously will dictate on the price. And there will be no inflation, because the reality is we've got a finite supply. So even in that regard, it's a bit different than gold, because there are still new gold mines being found and gold mined. But Bitcoin, there will ever only be 21 million Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I read something interesting the other day where like cash or the fiat currency, because they keep printing more and more and more and more and more of it, that's where the inflation comes from. Bitcoin is the exact opposite. It's deflationary. So every 4 years, is it, that halves?
Yeah, so the Bitcoin halving, what that actually means, so just in, I think it was May this year, where the third Bitcoin halving happened, which means that the miners, it reduces the amount of payment the miners get for issuing new Bitcoin, or bringing new Bitcoin into the ecosystem. And so essentially means we will actually never get to 21 million, because it'll keep on halving. So the reality is that, yes, there's a finite amount of Bitcoin, and yes, there is the system that they built to actually keep the inflation out of that system. And I think it was a very, very smart idea to do that, because that way you've got a truly, you've got a system that cannot be propped up, and at the same time, it's self, what do you call it? It's its own ecosystem.
You hear numbers like a Bitcoin being worth 70,000 or 100,000, or even crazy, it's like 500,000. And you just think, what do you think what have you heard it could go up to, and do you think it will reach like 100 grand? Or
just from my own research and listening to people like Raoul Pal, he's obviously very long in Bitcoin, big time. Yes, real visions, fantastic education. But yeah, he's got 50% of his personal portfolio on Bitcoin. He actually sold some of his gold to go into Bitcoin. And he's deeply into researching, as GMI Global Macro Investor. But listening to these people, 100K to me is not even a problem. There's talks about, and this is quite interesting to look at the calculation, talks about 500,000. And actually, when Bitcoin reaches 500,000, with let's say 19 million Bitcoin, because some of them have been lost, unfortunately, in the early days, because it was not secure, not going into the depth there. You will reach, I think it was about $10 trillion, which is about where gold is at the moment in terms of value, what we've got worldwide. So that's very doable. And then having said that, that's all speculation. What I do know, it's going to go up. It's as simple as that, because we'll have more big companies that will use Bitcoin as a cash reserve. Very famously, Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, he bought about a month ago 425 million worth of Bitcoin. And the reason why he did it was very simple. He was just doing maths. I mean, on one sense, you have cash reserve in the bank. And what do you get there? If you're lucky in Australia, you get a quarter of a percent, but very likely we're going into negative interest rates. And he said, it's like having a pile of cash in your backyard, and every month someone comes along and then just torches some of it. And of course, you don't want to burn your cash. And that's why they put 425 million into as literally a cash reserve into Bitcoin. The interesting thing is, ever since they did it, because Bitcoin has been very bullish over the last month, they almost gained 100 million on that, which is pretty phenomenal. So it's and more of these companies will come in. So I think the future for Bitcoin looks very bright, and for the cryptocurrency market in general. because everything else is pretty much attached, dovetailing to what Bitcoin does, and it's certainly worth looking at it now before the big rush happens.
So once you help people get set up and start getting paid in digital assets like Bitcoin, what's the best way to keep their Bitcoin safe?
Yes, so how do you keep Bitcoin safe? That's the really important question here, and that's where I kind of specialize in. And it's a topic that's very dear to me, because you do hear these horror stories. Not long ago, a friend of one of my clients, she used a Exodus wallet, and unfortunately her computer got hacked and she lost 7K with it. And that's totally avoidable. And so what you would want to look at is, for one, you want to use an exchange that's very, very secure and safe, that's got certain security policies. And that's really where, some research has to come in from your side, or understanding on how it all works, so you can keep your coins safe. Not long ago, the Singaporean Q coin got hacked for 150 million. That's a lot of money. That was quite a big deal in the cryptocurrency space. But having said that, for one, they found the hackers, because Bitcoin is not that anonymous as people thought, or cryptocurrency in general, I should say. And the second thing is that having said that it's important that the exchanges, they have often insurance, but that it's a good exchange, that where you can know that it's safe. Now, the other thing is there's always an option to store it on your own device. That's obviously and probably the most secure way of doing it. And then, having said that, the issue with that is, for some people, they lose the passwords, they lose their recovery seeds. So a really, really good, very secure exchange with very, very tight security, they're usually the best option for the average person.
And that's the problem, or that's the thing you help people with.
Yes.
Only setting up to get paid. So like coaches, clients, or coaches, service providers, people that can start getting paid in Bitcoin, not only getting paid and riding that wave of it going up in value, but also holding on to it in hot and cold wallets. So I just want to explain what the difference between a hot and a cold wallet.
Yes. So what's a hot wallet and what's a cold wallet? Well, the cold wallet is a storage of your cryptocurrency that is not accessible through external. So people wouldn't be able to hack into it because it's not hooked onto the internet, or let's say that's the easiest way of explaining it. A hot wallet is where that's usually what an exchange has, where you exchange cryptocurrency, you buy Ethereum for Bitcoin or vice versa, or exchange your Australian dollars into Bitcoin. That's the hot wallet. And most exchanges will have a policy that at least, I know different exchanges have different percentages, but I know the one I like working with has 98% of the funds are actually stored in a cold wallet, and only 2% are stored on the actual exchange on the hot wallet, which means if there was a hack, then only 2% of the funds could get potentially stolen.
So we all hear about all these stories about how big it can go and all the good things, but I know there's going to be people out there that are going to be asking themselves, so what are the types of things that could potentially go wrong in this space?
Yeah, so the main point goes back to what I already mentioned in terms of security, really. That is the major, or one of the major points. How secure do you hold your crypto? And then again, it comes down to the exchange. One of the exchanges not long ago, I already mentioned about the hack with Qcoin, but then also one of the exchanges, the main CEO, he had the private keys, which means he had access to all the funds, and he decided on one day, okay, I'll see you later and I'll have a really nice life somewhere. And And that again, it comes down to how well do you know your exchange? What security procedures does the exchange have in place? Is there one person or is there 4 people holding the private keys? And do they have, all of these people have to sign off on shifting funds back and forth? And so again, this is security, basic security. Where do you store your crypto? Now, one other thing I'd like to mention here in the cryptocurrency space that has come up in the last few months is something called DeFi. DeFi meaning decentralized finance. You will have an offer from some company saying, okay, you give me your Bitcoin, we will trade it in the markets for you and you get an interest on it. Now, most of these DeFi projects will be straight out scams. I mean, let's face it. So that's one. And secondly, the other DeFi projects that are maybe legit, it's still in its infancy. So I would be very, very careful of giving my coins to someone to make a bit more of it. We are now in a cycle where you buying and holding it will very likely give you a good profit because of what's happening in the cryptocurrency space. So I don't feel I have to give it to someone to make more of it, because I'm already getting lots just by buying and holding it. Yeah. And one last thing with the DeFi, with the staking, is that not long ago I went to YouTube, and there was a big YouTube live, and I think there was about 59,000 people watching, and it seemed to have been an interview with the Gemini founders. It's an exchange, it seemed very legit, but on the side drop it said, if you send us 0.1 Bitcoin, we'll send you 0.2 Bitcoin back. And any of these offers, they are straight out scams, and they made it look very legit, but for the newbie, this might be a trap. So stay away from these things. Talk to someone who really knows what they're doing, who have, those people who have been in the crypto industry for a while and understand what's going on. And that way you can educate yourself what's the best thing to do for you.
Yeah. And one of my mentors he says, I asked him the similar sort of question, like, what are the types of scams out there? What do people need to look out for? And he said, look, if you don't have 100% control of your money or of your assets, like, that's a giant red flag right there.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's right. That's correct. 100% correct.
So what is it specifically that you do and you can actually help people with? So if people are listening and they're thinking, okay, I've been getting paid in fiat money like up until this point. I understand the reasons why Bitcoin is important and the scope of it moving forward. What is it specifically that you do, and what happens once you start working with clients?
Yes, so my role is really, as I said, helping people get safely involved in cryptocurrencies. Now, one is obviously the educational part. The client, they have to decide what they want to do. I'm not giving them a pre-digested formula. That's what I did, that's what you got to do. Obviously, it's their decision because it's also their finances, and it's important they take 100% control and responsibility for it. What I help people with is an understanding of what is a secure exchange, which one do I use, which ones have a good solid foundation, what's the pros and cons, what's your personal security with not just with your cryptocurrency, but everything else that you use on your computer. And, using VPN is a good idea, but all of these are basic setups. So that's what I help people with.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So is there any last bits of wisdom you want to drop for people, or anything else people should know before they get into space safely?
Yes, so one thing I'd certainly like to mention is that people shouldn't rush making financial decisions, but they should certainly rush on getting the education so they can make decisions, because now is a really excellent time. We're still ahead of the mass adoption, and when mass adoption comes, pretty much just anyone wants to do what you're doing. And just to take advantage of the cryptocurrency market at this stage, this is a really good time to get in now. So do your due diligence and education now, and you'll have a very good time in this space.
Yeah, awesome. Dee, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing, and I look forward to working with you in the future. If you want to get in contact with Dee, just click the button somewhere on this page, and you'll get taken to a link, and you can book a time and have a one-on-one chat with Dee, and she can talk about how to get you set up safely in getting paid with digital assets like Bitcoin. So thank you so much. I hope you're all having an amazing day, and I look forward to connecting with you all soon.